What's up, everyone? I've been really excited to get into this topic for quite a while now. So a CRM is customer relationship management software. Things like HubSpot, Salesforce, all of these different platforms do a lot of different things for a lot of different people, and they follow a multi-tenant structure. So I've been wanting to dig into that and see how Payload can use, or how we can use the Payload multi-tenant plugin to do something similar. Now, I am under no delusion that I'm going to fully replace all that HubSpot or Salesforce can do, but I do know that the capabilities of the software that I have in hand should be able to get me pretty close. So we're going to get started with that right now. And the first thing we need to do, of course, is I'm going to start with creating a new Payload app using create Payload app. And as always, this is not really a tutorial. I'm just here building stuff. So should be fun to get started with this. So I'm gonna do multi-tenant CRM. Why not? And I'm gonna use blank, and I'm actually gonna delete the front end of it. And I'm gonna use Postgres this time. I'll normally use MongoDB for most things with Payload, but I really wanted to get something that is more structurally sound as far as databases go for this project specifically. While MongoDB for like in Payload can do relationships and all of this, just Postgres makes more sense with structured data, and structured data is what we're using here. So I'll use Postgres, we'll install everything, and then I have over here all of the documentation, so we'll get to that just a second. We got the blank template going, set it to the left side. I'm going to go into our source and just delete the front end because I'm not going to use anything there. And I don't think I need my route. I think this is just a sample route. Yeah, it's an example of a custom route, so go ahead and remove that as well. And then I'll keep everything else, and README can stay for now. So go ahead and delete that, and we're gonna open up our collections and our payload folder, and then our config. So here, the first thing we need to do is actually install the plugin. So I'm gonna use pnpm add plugin multi-tenant and let that load up. We've got the multi-tenant plugin installed, and that's as far as I have worked with the multi-tenant plugin. The multi-tenant structure in general, I've not done a whole lot with, so that's what's going to make this the most fun, is figuring out how to make this work and see what we can build with it. We've got a couple of options, including base path cleanup after tenant delete. Defaults to true, so after a tenant's deleted, the plugin will attempt to clean up related documents, so that way you don't just have floating documents out and about if you clean up or if you delete a tenant. And then there's going to be collections, which we will define our collections that we want the tenants to have. That way we can have admin collections as well as tenant collections, internationalization with translations. Of course, if it's enabled, can debug it as well, specific tenant fields and arrays. So we'll get into this much later. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is go to our plugins here, and I'm going to import our multi-tenant plugin. This should import automatically for me. It did, and so they're passing in the config from the types. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. Import config from payload types, and we'll investigate what that does later. So we don't have pages yet. I wonder if we have to include that elsewhere, but we'll see here in a second. Then navigation is global and set that to true. Just to test it out, we're going to add a new collection, which we'll just call tenants, and we're going to have an empty fields array, just so I can get something spun up and going. But I think this pages is going to be an issue because I don't have that collection set up. Let's do payload generate types first, and then payload generate import map, and then I'll do pnpm dev. So missing collections, pages, and navigation. So while this is labeled as basic usage, it just has the assumption that there are other collections involved. So here we're missing collections, pages, and navigation, which just means that I need to add those. And so I'll do the same thing here. So we'll do slug pages, and I'm not gonna do anything fancy here. I'm also not going to do anything with navigation. Restart the dev server, and we should get something spun up. Postgres seems to be an issue, and I think it's because I don't have an actual password. So if I go here, this is not live and I don't really care if anybody sees any of this. I don't have Postgres running. I always have Mongo running. I don't always have Postgres running. There we go. I am smart. All right, so I'm going to do my email address with my super secure password, and I don't have any tenants yet, so we're gonna have to create those momentarily. Oh, I have to have a tenant, but there are no tenants yet. Oh, well, hold on. I can remove that. All right, try this one more time. There we go. We'll have pages, which let's go ahead and add, we're not gonna do that. We'll go to our collections, and I'm gonna create a new file, which will be our pages, and I'll do a config.ts. We'll import our collection config from Payload, and we're going to export a constant called pages, which will have a slug of pages, and then our fields. So let's go ahead and replace this with our pages, and that imported automatically for me. If I refresh, nothing's going to change. So I'm not assigned to a tenant yet, so I need to create one. So we need to adjust some things. We don't need this comment, but we do need a new field, which will have the name of roles, which will be a select role, I believe. So we'll do select, we'll do options, and we can set admin, and we should actually do this correctly. Let's do a label admin, value admin. Well, actually, let's set this to be super admin. And we'll just start with 2. So we'll do super admin and then maybe tenant admin. So then I need to create some tenants, which needs to go into its own collection. So create a new file, tenants, config.ts, import collection config from Payload, export constant tenants, collection config, need a slug of tenants, and fields we'll set as an empty array for now. Did I set pages right? I did not. So collection config goes there. And then this is going to be pages, tenants, which should come in handy shortly. Then we will change our tenant here to be tenants, and then tenants is not global. So if I go to users, I see 0 tenants assigned, which means I need to create a tenant somehow. Simplest way to do this would just be to do something like on init async await payload. And then I'm just going to copy and paste these 3 tenants and then restart my server. So all of that should be there. Let's set this to be super admin so I can save that. Refresh. These tenants should be created, but I can't see them yet because I believe. So then if we set our user roles includes super admin. Generate types, don't think I need to do that, or import map, but we'll see. Okay, so I have a bunch of tenants in here, which means that I did things wrong. Admin, we're gonna use as title, and this will be name. So if I refresh that. So I'm just going to delete all of these tenants. So that should be good. If I refresh, all the tenants should be gone, but I should be able to add a tenant now. So I'll just add tenant 1. I don't think we're gonna use the subdomains like they are, but I'm going to include it just in case. Then if I save, I should be able to add tenant 1. And now if I go back, I'll have pages and tenants. So let's go back to all of our collections if I can. So I've got tenant 1. I have a bunch of tenants. Oh, because I initialized them. Let's start talking CRM style fields. So I have a couple of tenants now. The tenants seem to work just fine. So there is separation between them. I've got pages, I've got media, but that's not really stuff that we use in a CRM. So let's figure out what to do next. There are a couple things that I know CRMs provide. I don't need pages, so we're going to just replace this. So let's get rid of this, and then we're gonna replace this, and we're gonna have first contacts, which is gonna change that slug to contacts. We don't need the slug field, and we can go to our payload config and change pages to contacts. Do the slug field, then rename pages to contacts, refactor. So then we should be able to spin up the home page. Oh, pages. So we need contacts here instead, and we'll let that load up. So we need tenants still, and we can change this to be contacts. So now we're going to create a new file, and we're gonna have companies, and that will have its own config.ts. We can add that. We'll import collection config from Payload. Then of course, as always, constant. This will be companies, collection config, and then we'll do slug companies, and then just do a blank array real quick while I add it. Companies, okay, import companies. Oh, I'm going to need to generate types here in a second. So let's go ahead and do that because I'm doing too much already. Now I see contacts and companies, pages is gone, and that should have dropped our pages as well. So let's build out our fields. So companies, and this will be helpful when we add our select field stuff. So let's go ahead and add admin, and we're going to use as title, we'll have a name, and then we're going to group this together as CRM field, CRM data. We'll do type of text, and we'll have name. Required will be true. Companies moved, contacts will do the same thing. So I actually want to copy this, paste it here, change this to be name, and refresh. Yes, do the migration that I need, and then it should come down to CRM data as well. So now we need to actually work on real fields here, and we'll come over to companies real quick. And then we'll have industry, website, phone number, address, employee count, and notes. So this will be notes. We'll do employee count. Then we'll do address, phone, website, industry, and then name, I'll leave it. And then I'll actually do one more, and we'll do logo. And this will be an upload field with a relation to media. Employee count will be, should I do a number or should I do a string that's going to be a range? I'll do a number, and then you can estimate it. So let's go ahead and just admin description. And I'll just say estimate if necessary. Address, what type of fields do we have? Because I don't think address is one. So text is probably fine, but we might want to do something more like an actual address group. So we could do type will be group, name will be address, and then we'll have fields. And then here we'll do something like name, country, type text. There we go. And then I can do up here, we'll do name, street, address. Hoping for some autocomplete here, street address 2, type text, and then I'm just going to use US. Name will be city. Let's actually do this a little bit neater. So we'll do a type of row, and then name, okay, city, type text, and we'll do admin width of 50%, and then do the same thing for state. Let's actually just copy this state. And then finally, we'll do zip code, which will actually be type text instead of number. But this needs to come outside of the row. Then phone will be, can I do phone? So text is probably the best place for this. Website text, industry text, all of that should be fine for now. So if I create a new company, I'll assign it to tenant 1, and I can add all of that stuff here. If I zoom out, city and state will go on the same line. And then we could do something like here would be admin position and do sidebar there. So I could do the logo there with a couple of other fields maybe. I could even do tabs. I could do a bunch of other things. So, but here employee count could actually probably go into the sidebar as well. Let's set min to 0. Well, 1 actually. So that looks pretty good for our company. And there is going to be something that I think we want to do with our contacts that will be fun. So we are going to do tabbed UI. So let's go ahead and do a name. I'm not going to name it. So we'll just do a type of tabs, label, no, type of tabs, and then I think it's tabs right away. The first tab is going to be labeled company info, and then I can add fields. Then I can add all this junk down here. And I have company info there, and logo should actually come out of the tabbed UI. So that'll stay in the sidebar, because I'm thinking of HubSpot and Salesforce where it may have like a sidebar of information, but employee count wouldn't be there. But I could do something like company owner, but we'll get there. But like just overarching information there. Then I could do something like label associated contacts, then add fields, and I'll just leave this blank for now because I need to get contacts going first. We can now start working on our contacts. We'll change this to be first name. So we'll do first name, we'll do last name. Neither of those need to be unique. We'll do email, which we will make this unique. Yes, that should be unique. Nobody else should have the same email address. All right, so after that, we'll do a phone number, company relationship field. We'll do a status, and then we'll do a lead status, which will be a select field. And that select field will have options. And those options will be, let's just keep this simple. We'll do lead, and then we can do something like MQL, then we'll do an SQL, and then finally we can do a customer. So we've got our lead status, then we have our status here where we'll do something like maybe a radio, I think is appropriate. And we'll do options for this, and those will be label of active and then inactive. Then before our status, we'll have our lead source, which will leave as text, but that is something that we could probably do as a select field as well. Our phone number, nope, before that is our relationship field. So we can do company will be a relationship, and then that will be relation to companies. And we're gonna put this in the sidebar. Then we've got our phone number, which will be text. We have our email, that will be an email, and then phone number and text as well. The next thing I want to do is come back over here and then do a join field. So if I do a type of join, and then we need a name, which will be just associated. All right, we can just do contacts instead. So we'll do contacts, and then collection will be contacts on contacts. All right, associated contacts, no results. Let's create Acme Corp. It is manufacturing, and it's acme.com at 555-123-4567. I would want to format that, but that's fine. 1234 Nunya Lane, and we'll say this is Oakland. They chose the longest city, and we'll say that's there in the US. Employee count, we'll say it's 250. This is some notes for this company. I won't include a logo. I will include a logo because I can always just use my favorite, pick some photos and do something like 100 by 100. And then we can just say that this is Acme Corp logo, save that, and then I can hit save. There's no associated contacts yet, but I can create a new one and it'll be associated to the Acme Corp. We'll say that this is a lead. They're active. They came from Google Ads. They also have a phone number 123-456-7890. And then this is John Smith. They will be jsmith at acme.com, and I can save that. And now when I keep adding contacts to Acme Corp, I'll see that they'll be added here to associated contacts. And so that is a company and some contacts. So it's assigned to tenant 1. I am as a super admin right now. Nope, I'm tenant 1 right now. So I could open contacts as the super admin, and I can see contacts and I can see the company that I just created. Tenant 2 though has no company and has no contacts. So they're still separate. Tenant 3, same situation. But tenant 1, I can see John Smith and Acme Corp. I would be able to duplicate these across, but I'm just going to keep it really simple for now until I can build it out a little bit more. But Acme Corp, we can come back to company info, and then this is a text area field down here, or is it just a text field? Because that feels wrong. So if I go, and also contacts should have notes. So let's go ahead and create that as well. Let's go ahead, just do name notes, type will be text area, and then companies, yeah, I didn't think so, text area. And these don't need to be rich text because honestly, why would they need to be rich text? I'm not trying to make it look nice or like rich text. That is our contacts and companies, which is a lot of what CRMs do. I don't think anything else needs to be here except for an owner. So I do need to add to my companies, and we'll do it in the sidebar. Beneath the upload field, we can add a type. This will be a relationship. This will be a name of contact owner, and then relation 2 will be users, position, admin. position sidebar. I see the contact owner, and then I see those there. And that's because I am the super admin that I can see everybody. So I'm gonna leave a to-do here. So the to-do that we're going to do is prevent sensitive information from being stored in this collection with an after read hook. And then also we want to make sure that we filter by available tenant only. I want to have default columns. We'll want the name, we'll want the phone, we will want contact, and we'll start there. So then if I go to my companies, I just see who is available there. So now if I log out, and let's log in with tenant 1, and then I go to companies. That's not what I wanted. Go to companies, I can see that, and then I can see the super admin, which is interesting. So a few noisy neighbor things to work out there, and it looks like I'm in good shape. So a couple things that we need to do next time. I've got these to-dos to work on. We also need to work on a deals collection, something that's scoped to the tenant. Just like everything else, we want to be scoped to the tenant. We've made it through really a lot. So we didn't just do a little bit. We explored the multi-tenant plugin. We figured out a few things with how the plugin is configured. There are a few other things that we need to figure out, like how do I restrict the tenants a little bit better. But other than that, there's a lot of configuration that can be done to the multi-tenant plugin, and we will get there. I'm sure that we'll have some things that come up that we need to address as we continue going. I did have to downgrade from Next.js 16 to make this work. That's some compatibility issues that I know is being worked out, but we'll see when and if that happens, or if I switch to tan stack start. I don't know anymore. Either way, this needs to be a Next application because it's Payload. And I'm only using the admin dashboard. I'm not trying to make a front end with this. I could, but I don't think I'm going to. So we'll see when I get to later streams. So we're working with Postgres. I've seen how Postgres works now with development and that it pushes and does all the migrations for me, which is wonderful, great. I love that. I do have to keep in mind that that does happen though. So whenever it has an interactive bit in the CLI, I have to actually move on it. Well, if you haven't heard, I did just open my course for pre-release. You can find more information about that at nlvcodes.com/courses. That's where you're going to find the Payload Essentials course, which is going to be a lot of content about how to get set up with Payload CMS from start to deployment. So it starts with 0 lines of code and ends with a fully deployed and production-ready website. So that's coming soon. Be sure to check it out, nlvcodes.com. You can also check out my newsletter, also on nlvcodes.com, or join my Discord server, which again, nlvcodes.com. So check all of that out. Lots of great stuff coming up. And I'm looking forward to getting more and more into this multi-tenant plugin and other technologies that are coming up. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned some stuff. And if you did, make sure you like this video and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.